Hey, Flip Your Script listeners, it's Kristi Piehl, and it's our final episode of 2021, and we have something special planned for you. Each week, as you know, we have the privilege of sharing one person's story with you, and these are some of the bravest and most inspiring people I've ever met. This episode, we went back through their stories and pulled out themes directly from our incredible guests, from mindset to motivation, even to money. To make it easy for you, I'll mention the episode number, so if you want to hear more, you won't have to search all over the website or your favorite podcast platform to find it. It's amazing what happens when you combine the experiences of more than 75 guests. There are some clear threads that hold the key to help us all in this time of year when we're focusing on new beginnings, new habits, and new futures. We've also had some significant guest updates, and of course, it wouldn't be a Flip Your Script episode without incredible quotes. And that's actually where we're going to end. It's also where we're going to start. As you know, I'm a bibliophile. If that's a new word to you, it's someone who collects or has a great love of books. For me, I'm guilty, it's both. So I often give books as gifts. Since my oldest graduated high school in 2021, you can imagine I attended a lot of high school graduation parties. I ate a lot of sheet cake. One of the gifts we gave every graduate was what I'm considering one of the most important books of the year. One I think we're going to remember and look back on as a point in time in 2021. It was Amanda Gorman's poem, The Hill We Climb. This is a quote from that poem. "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." And that speaks to something a lot of guests shared on the podcast this year. There's always light, even in the most difficult and unbelievable circumstances. Our most listened to episode ever is episode number 58. And it inspired a lot of you because when you hear Stephanie Reece's story, it's pretty tough to get down about your own circumstances. Stephanie is a tennis star whose ex-husband murdered her 2 children. Here's what Stephanie told us.
I'm very strong-willed, and in my mind, I have 2 choices. I can sink or swim. I can sit in a corner, which I know my children do not want for me. I know they want me to have some happiness and joy and some peace in my life. I know they want that for me. I see signs. I feel that from them. And I've done some EMDR through therapy, and that's really helped. And I just can't let the what I call the evil one, I'm not going to let somebody ruin my life. They tried very hard, but I owe it to Harrison and Shelby to live the best life I can and to honor them and find some way to make something good out of something so awful and help other people, because that's the way I help myself.
Isn't that incredible? After talking with more than 75 people who found a way to flip their script after a difficult or unexpected circumstance, many people, like Stephanie, talk about finding joy. And people talk about it as a verb. They don't just talk about joy, they talk about the act of finding it. It's an active process of seeking joy. But how does someone find joy? In episode 40, media personality and entrepreneur Sheletta Brundidge, who lost a number of family members in a carbon monoxide accident, defined what joy means to her.
If we get sad, we're weakened. Joy really is strength. If you can maintain your joy, you can maintain your strength. If you can find something to laugh or be joyful or happy about, you can stay strong. It's when you get sad. It's when you get down. It's when you start looking at your problems and telling God how big your problems are instead of telling your problems how big your God is. That's when you lose focus, and that's when you go down, and that's when you get off track, and that's when you get off your path.
Joy was also a major topic of conversation when R. Eric Thomas, who's a best-selling author and TV show writer, shared his story on the podcast.
I'm interested in a lot of things, but I'm always interested, it's just sort of at a base in like how we find joy and how, which maybe seems simplistic. There are times that I think it's, I feel like I'm Ted Lasso and I'm like, well, I just love when everybody loves everybody. But I do also think that even the idea for me in my life, the idea of me saying at certain points in life, I'm happy here, I'm happy to be alive. Even that has been sort of revolutionary to other people or controversial to other people. And so I think the thing that I'm always sort of reaching for, and I think I want to keep reaching for in writing, is like, how do I keep a piece of joy in my life?
That was episode 64, and I have to admit, one of my favorite conversations of the year. Congratulations to our Eric Thomas. His next book is already getting a lot of buzz. It's expected to be released in May 2022. And since we're talking updates, how about Pam Borton, former Division I women's basketball coach turned executive coach, talked about a book she was working on when she talked with us in episode 12. Well, that book, Crooked Rim, is out now. And Merryl Tengesdal, who was on CBS's Tough as Nails show and the first and only Black woman to fly the United States Air Force's U-2 spy plane, released her book, Shatter the Sky, recently. If you want to listen to her story, it's pretty incredible. She shared that on episode 55. And our biggest public guest update. If you remember Matt and Sloan, they shared their story in episode 13. They're TikTok famous. They talked openly about their desire to have a baby, which would be difficult, they shared, due to his injury. Well, guess what? Their baby Lucas was born in September. Congratulations to their family. More Flip Your Script moments, sound bites, and quotes right after this. Flip Your Script is produced by Media Minefield, an agency specializing in earned, owned, and paid media. With clients all over North America, Media Minefield was founded on the belief every story has value, and the power of a story is unlocked when it's shared. Oh yeah, Media Minefield's my favorite agency because I started it in 2010 when my 12-year television news career ended. I won some Emmy Awards, got to tell some incredible stories, met some amazing people, and then I was laid off. And that's enough of my Flip Your Script story. You can hear it and others by subscribing to the podcast. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to rate and review. And now back to today's guest. Well, here's something I never thought I'd say in 2021 or any year, frankly. I like doing laundry. In episode 72, Patric Richardson converted me. We are now using his products and practices in my house, and I think completely differently now about walking into a room filled with dirty, smelly teenage boy laundry.
I believe that you do these things for somebody that you care about. I always say you do laundry for people that you love. So to me, doing the laundry or cleaning the bathroom or washing the dishes, that's kind of a love language. It's, if you're washing the dishes, it's because you made somebody a meal, probably, or because you left them from the day before. But either way, at some point in time, someone that was important to you had a meal, and that's how I feel about doing the laundry.
And I'm even going to install a disco ball in my laundry room. That's something Patric highly encourages. I actually went to the Mall of America and met Patric. There's a picture of that on my Instagram. Another field trip I took this year because of the Flip Your Script podcast was to IHOP. I did a little research before my conversation with Julia Stewart, who went from IHOP server to the CEO. Her insight is so valuable right now, especially as many people are thinking about whether they want to make a career switch in the new year.
I tell people all the time, listen, if you feel like you've hit the glass ceiling or you aren't in a place that's supportive of you, in this day and age, you need to find something else. There are so many opportunities out there for eager, creative, thoughtful, caring people. Please go find another position in another company. There's just no reason, whether you're working for an entrepreneur or you're working for a corporation, there's just no need today to be stifled or feel like you're dead-ended or you've hit the glass ceiling, which occasionally I did feel that way. And so it was like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else where my value is valued.
Julia's story is episode 65. And speaking of Julia, here's another one. How about Julia Waller? She's episode 47. It was actually my work with her that helped me dig into my own value that led to this podcast.
Every single person on the planet, in my eyes, every single person has a unique set of talents that were brought in here to use, to create value with, to make a contribution. Now, some people have an idea of what that is, and they've really leaned into it, and other people don't even know they have one, right? So the more we can create awareness and consciousness around, oh, wow, actually what I do is really amazing.
Whether it's determining your purpose, considering professional or personal changes, or A lot of people are thinking about money this time of year, so I thought it was valuable to include some insight from Bill Danko. He's the best-selling author of The Millionaire Next Door.
It would really be useful for everybody to get a worldwide perspective as how wealthy Americans really are. The median net worth in the United States is $120,000 right now. Half above, half below. If you have a net worth of greater than 120,000, you're in the upper half. And people say, oh my goodness, how can I possibly live on that amount? I can't retire. Well, maybe you can't, but the point is you're doing better than the average bear with that 120,000 as the threshold, getting you to the upper half. So when you're just have this mindset of I could never have enough, you're going to be on an economic treadmill and you'll be wearing yourself out.
In that conversation, episode 45, Bill told us that real wealth means you have to be in the practice of giving to others. It's not just about cash money. Whether it's about work or weight or wealth, it's all about mindset. One of my favorite business books of the year is Atomic Habits by James Clear. He's on my dream guest list for 2022. If you're listening, James, call us. Well, he wrote this, and I think the quote is valuable for today's podcast. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. I'm going to say it again because I think it's that valuable. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. What actions do you want to keep doing or stop doing as you cast your votes for your future self? Personally, I spend 2 days at the end of every year writing goals for myself and my business. I refer to them regularly throughout the year. This practice has been invaluable for me. Several years ago, one of my goals was to practice gratitude. Maybe that's on your list to improve. One of the books I read to learn about the topic was written by Janice Kaplan. She was a Flip Your Script guest last year. Here's what she said in episode 34.
I think gratitude is really about reframing a situation. It's really just about recognizing that there are events you can control and events you can't. If there's something you can change in your life, go ahead and change it. But when there are other situations, just try to look at them from a different perspective.
Many guests talked about changing their mindset and how specifically they managed to do it. Here's some great insight from well-known Wine and Crime podcast host Amanda Jacobson.
There was a project that I did in college where our professor gave us the assignment to remove the word should from your vocabulary and treat it as like a dirty word, basically, like an expletive for a whole week. And see how you feel at the end of it. And while it was really hard and it continues to be really hard, I have sat with that lesson ever since, especially when it comes to going out on your own and trying something new. The word should, if you can change that mindset to what could I do? What could happen next? It's transformative.
That was from episode 69, a hugely popular fan favorite episode. And it's especially powerful when mindset shift is connected to understanding and empathizing with other people. Here's Peloton instructor Sam Yo and I talking about how he learned this concept from spending time as a Buddhist monk. So you have this cultural identity, seek out the past, and this spiritual interest. Did you find while you were a monk what you went there looking for?
I found much more because I went in there just to kind of understand a bit more about my culture and where I was from. And it gave me the means to understand more about myself and others and to appreciate others and to try and see through others' eyes.
We heard a lot of comments about that episode. We also got quite a few messages about episode 67 as Todd Rose shared his journey from teen dad to college dropout to get this Harvard professor. I think his story resonated because of his authenticity. And remember, if you heard that episode, he literally had one of the worst jobs I have ever heard of. He got paid to drive to other people's houses and give them enemas. And if you're one of the people, like some of the people who worked on that podcast episode and had never heard of an enema, pull over before you Google it. Anyway, I still can't believe that's a job. I digress. The reason his story was so powerful is because he shared practical insight. Listen to what he said about the power of words.
I always think about that, you know, the responsibility we have and the way we engage with other people around us, and recognizing that our words matter, our deeds matter, they affect people. And if we see that and recognize that and take it as a responsibility, I think it's a power that we have to make the world better for other people and for ourselves.
The power of words. And I always told this to my kids, words can be weapons or they can heal. You choose how to wield that power. And it applies to stories. It's a choice. Do we consume stories for the purpose of learning and helping, or are we voyeurs who like hearing about and watching suffering? Morys in episode 75 talked quite profoundly about that. And for context, he's a human trafficking survivor.
Crazy stuff is so interesting because it breaks us out of the facade of our very basic, simple, normal lives of buying bread and milk and, you know, going to work and coming home and reading a book and going to sleep. But, you know, what else is equally as exciting is the incredible things we do about it. You know, the things that happen after the car crash. You know, it's the person learning to walk again. It's the lone survivor in that crash. It's the the first responder that puts out the fire. That is so interesting. It's incredible. It makes your heart 10 sizes too big.
Don't we all want our hearts to grow 10 sizes too big? That sounds amazing. It also is like the opposite of the Grinch for me. That's where my visual brain goes. Well, maybe that's the challenge for the year. Listen, really listen to other people's stories, and not just the moment in time, but look for the phoenix that rises from the ashes. Hear the story. Look for the joy that is searched for and found after a struggle. How about the hope that we all have for a better tomorrow? Well, I hope you learned something from our guests that empowers you to believe you're capable of more than you think, to discover motivation, to uncover inspiration, and to find the strength to turn the page. And now, here's our quote for the episode. What an amazing future there will be. And in the evening, after the fire and the light, one thing is certain. Nothing can hold back the night. Time is relentless. And as the past disappears, we're on the verge of all things new. Those are the lyrics to Billy Joel's song, 2,000 Years. So let's end this episode with Mike DelGuidice singing that song. It was a podcast highlight when I, a huge Billy Joel fan, had the privilege of having Mike share his story on this podcast. He also shared his talents. He sang the song for us. So here's to more incredible episodes, stories, and learnings in the new year. Thank you for listening.
In the beginning, there was the cold and the night, prophets and angels gave us the fire and the light. Man was triumphant, armed with the faith and the will. Even the darkest stages couldn't kill.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Script, hosted by Kristi Piehl and produced by Media Minefield. If you like our message, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show, and share our episodes with your family and friends. Do you or someone you know have a story about flipping your script? We'd love to share it. Contact us on our website, flipyourscriptpodcast.com. To stay up to date on all things Flip Your Script, make sure to follow host Kristi Piehl on social media. You can also check out the website for pictures, resources mentioned in the show, and other great episodes.